So I'm going to do a hopefully quick update. I know I say that all the time and it ends up being 20 minutes. I had a consult on Friday, so today's Monday, so 3 days ago I had a consult. We went in so that we could ask the RE some questions and figure out exactly how this upcoming FET cycle is going to go, and then also tell him my standings on things and a couple of tests that I would like to do, and so on and so on. First off, I went in with the intention of asking for the natural killer cell and protein deficiency tests. And to my surprise, they were already on his radar. He's not willing to do all the tests just yet, and I'll get to why in a minute, but he is willing to do them. He brought up the intralipids IV, which is the potential solution for natural killer cell, without me even bringing it up. And he also mentioned, unbeknownst to me, that he has a partner that is an expert in and has done a lot of research on natural killer cells. So that is really good to know. Hopefully it won't come down to that, but that's some really great information. As for the protein deficiency, he doesn't think there's an issue with my lining at all. And the reason behind that again, I did not know this number before. My lining for the last cycle, the one that failed, my lining was 12.7, which is really awesome. So he's not worried about that at all. However, he is retesting my thyroid. My weight tends to go up and down a lot. I did flat out ask him, I said, listen, if there's anything else we can do, we need to do it. And I'm not opposed to paying out of pocket for certain tests as long as it's not obscenely priced, just to get around what the insurance is willing to do and not willing to do at whatever time. The only thing he really wanted to do was retest my thyroid because my weight goes up and down. I should be receiving a call on that tomorrow. He's expecting it to be lower than it was, which he would put me on Synthroid, which I do have the prescription for already. It's a very, very low dose. I don't have it handy, so I can't give you the exact amount, but it's a really small dose. If that actually ends up being the case. And again, I should get that call tomorrow. The other thing he's definitely doing is with this FET cycle, he's adding Lovenox, L-O-V-E-N-O-X, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and baby aspirin. I know a lot of people get that, excuse me, if they have MTHFR, which is a genetic issue that can cause you to throw clots and not absorb folic acid properly and can cause all kinds of problems with pregnancy. He didn't mention actual MTHFR. He just wanted to add these in as a precaution. I actually was okay with all of this. I didn't get the tests that I wanted yet, but again, they are on his radar. He was very proactive. I went in kind of with a fear of the guy turning into, well, an a-hole when I brought this stuff up. Because, you know, specialists, they have their own agenda sometimes. They get cranky when you want to do something differently than they want to do sometimes. And I really didn't want to deal with that. I was hoping it wasn't going to come to that, and thankfully it didn't. He was perfectly fine. I did explain to him that I was really concerned. I wanted to know what his thoughts were on this last failed cycle. And I also let him know that while we do have 5 Frosties, I'm really, really hoping and praying that one of those is our take-home baby, because I'm honestly not positive if I am willing to go through another egg retrieval again. Now, I know some of you girls out here have gone through this so many times, and you have my utmost respect, you really do. I know that the side effects from an egg retrieval can be entirely different for each person. It depends on how many eggs they get. It depends on how your body reacts to everything. I kind of sugarcoated it in some of my last videos, but in all honesty, I would say about a week after the egg retrieval, it was rough. It was really rough. And I had to work that week. So, I mean, thankfully I'm a programmer. I have a sit-down job, but pain kind of makes it hard to think. And I spent most of my day with an ice pack on my torso because all the way from my nether regions, all the way up to the underside of the girls, all of that was just so inflamed and bloated, painful to the touch. And of course, when all of those areas get bloated, there's other things that stop working. They gave me some remedies. They told me to take certain things. Nothing really worked very well for me. But I had a problem with my bladder on top of that. You can go back to my past videos if you want to know about that, if you're not familiar. But the bottom line is, as I told him, you know what, that was really, really uncomfortable. And I'm just not sure if I'm willing to do it again. I did have someone tell me, I had a couple someones tell me that, you know, it may not be like that next time. It might not be that bad. Your body may not react that way. You may get more eggs, you may get less eggs, you know. They may adjust the medicines to where you don't react like that. There's so many different things that can be done differently, and there's no way to foresee whether or not that experience that I had would happen again. So if it was put in my lap, would I do another one? I can't answer that. When that decision is put upon us, and you got a doctor saying, I really think this is going to work, of course, more than likely we're going to try it again. So I'm not 100% ruling it out. But I did flat out tell him that I would rather have 2 HSGs in a row. And by the way, those were quite painful. The one that I had was quite painful, I should say. I would rather have 2 of those in a row, one after another, than go through that week that I went through again. And those of you who have had pain from the HSG test, the one where they see if your tubes are clear, I'm sure you're going, oh no, you don't want 2 of those in a row. Oh yes, I do. I would rather have that than go through the week that I went through between the retrieval and the transfer. So, we'll see. I told him that because I wanted him to know where I was at, that it was really important that we didn't just keep essentially throwing the 5 frozen embryos at me and praying to God something worked, because in my mind, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the description of insanity. And yes, a lot of this road, this fertility road, is insane, but if we can prevent things, that would be great. So that's it. I mean, bottom line is, I didn't get what I want, but I'm okay. I'm okay because I'm comfortable with his reactions to everything. I was surprised that a lot of this stuff was already on his radar. He was already thinking about it. That there is a specialist for NKC, if it comes down to that, natural killer cell, waiting in the wings. Oh, by the way, as for the failure, I did ask him his opinions on that. He said the only thing that could have potentially been an issue is the thyroid, if it really and truly did drop, which again we'll find out tomorrow. But other than that, he thinks, his words were, he thinks it was statistical, that nothing's 100%. There's no way for them to force something to stick, for the baby to stick even if everything is perfect. Sometimes it just doesn't, and there's no way for them to know why sometimes. He believes the embryos were great. He thinks the eggs were great. He thinks the sperm that were chosen for the ICSI were great. He was satisfied with our report of how many fertilized. And he was satisfied with my lining. So he believes it was statistical, and I said, listen, you know, it gives me straight. How do you think this is going to go? I need to know how to feel going into this next one. And he said he really believed, he believed that it would work. He wasn't going to say that the next one would work, but he said that he really felt positive about this FET, that this FET could work, that everything is in our favor. Of course, he's not going to say the next one's definitely going to work because, you know, you say that to the wrong patient and then you're going to sue you. But I could tell that he really was excited for this next FET. And that was good enough for me. It was good enough for me that he didn't turn into a specialist monster when I told him everything I was feeling and everything that I really wanted. And what I was familiar with, he was surprised how informed I was. I guess that's not common, but you know, that's what you get when you have this wonderful community of women to tell you what's going on. And also while we were there, we did have to sign the paperwork for the FET to say that we were a go. It looks like it does require assisted hatching, which I wasn't aware of. So we had to sign off on that also. And then we also had to tell them how many we were going to go with for the frozen embryo transfer. And the nurse that we signed those paperwork off with was in the consult, the meeting with the RE. And he explained to us that the embryos that are frozen currently right now may be slightly less quality than the 2 that we put in, but he still thinks that they're good, that this is going to work well. So I guess this nurse was on his same line of thinking, because we originally were thinking we were going to put 3 back in because they were supposedly going to be slightly lower quality. And, you know, the frozen embryos can take a little bit of time to catch up, and sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. And the nurse looked at us and said, no, just put down 2. So we put down 2, and I don't know, hopefully that's a good sign. So that's it. Quickly, what is coming up next is I am currently on birth control for 21 days. My last video I said I didn't quite know what the protocol was going to be after that. I do now know. It's just birth control for me. There is no other suppressant involved. So after the 21 days of birth control, I wait for my period to show up. And as soon as it does, I go in for my baseline scan and ultrasound. At that point, they'll be starting estrogen to get my lining up once my period is over with. And they said that the estrogen are intramuscular. I am familiar with those. I had to do those last cycle. They did say that there should only be 3 or 4 injections of those based on how my lining was last month. And at that point, once they're okay with how the lining looks, they will schedule the transfer for 6 days out, because you need to be on the progesterone shots for 6 days prior to transfer. So as soon as they schedule the FET, the progesterone shots will start. And that's pretty much it. And there's also an antibiotic involved, but that's pretty commonplace for this. Speaking of the progesterone shots, I may be requesting ones that are not in sesame oil. I had a strange rash appear on my backside that is not near the injection point, but after seeing an allergist and seeing the RE, and neither one of them can figure out what in the heck is going on back there, we're assuming it could be stress, of course. It could be hormones, with the hormones going up and down. But it could also be an issue with the sesame oil, though they would have expected it to show up sooner. The rash actually showed up after I stopped the progesterone shots from the last cycle. And they're not exactly at the injection point. They're a little lower than that. So they can't say for sure. So just as a precautionary measure, I'm probably going to request from my pharmacy when they call, which should be soon, progesterone in cottonseed oil. There's about 5 different oils you can request it in, and I think that's the one I'm going to go with next. And we'll try and stay de-stressed and pray to God that rash doesn't come back. It was pretty red and itchy and very annoying. It's still there a little bit. It's now about a week that I've had it, but it is getting better, so I'm not too worried. And the allergist didn't want to prescribe me any steroids because we are going into an FET. My allergist and my RE know each other, so that's kind of handy. So pretty much I'm just using over-the-counter stuff, and I'm going back to see the allergist tomorrow just in case, but I think that's going to be fine. So that's it. That's all I got. I try to cram that in a short amount of time. It still looks like this is going to be 15 minutes, but at least it's not 20. Hopefully you guys kept up with my rambling. That's all I've got for now. I will probably not have any TTC or FET updates until we get into the next cycle. I am currently cycle day 8, 9, somewhere in there. All right. Thanks for watching, and thanks for your support, and all of you guys that have commented on Facebook and sent me messages and replied to these videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you to the new subbies. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.